This is a Bluewave Lifejacket. The manufacturer allows users to service it. Before you embark on servicing a Lifejacket, make sure that the manufacturer allows that. We have got a checklist, and it is according to the manufacturer's instructions. It is actually slightly enhanced, and there's more detail in this than even the manufacturers have. Lifejacket should be serviced at least once a year to check that it all works. What you will need is a checklist, set of weighing scales, and a small pump to do the inflation test. First of all, we do a casual visual check. Make sure there's nothing obviously wrong. Make sure that the buckle works, that the straps are there in place. There's no obvious fraying of the edges, the joins, particularly because we use these a lot for rowing. You often get abrasion along where the cylinder is kept. On this particular one, it's on the right hand side. Some of them it may be on the left hand side. There's no obvious wearing there. There's no chafing. The seams are intact. The seams are intact. There's a slight thread loose there, but nothing of any consequence. We'll turn it over, check in the back, make sure there's no chafing, nothing wrong. Buckles are okay, straps are okay. That looks okay. So I'm going to open it first of all. It's just held together with Velcro. Comes off quite easily. And I'm going to move the bladder out the way and check first of all the blue outer material, that there's no chafing. You do get wear on the seam there. There's a small hole here, but it doesn't go all the way through, so that's not a problem. There's no chafing along the seam, and there's no chafing along the seam. Again, on the front where the cylinder is, this is where serious chafing often occurs. There's nothing a problem there. So that all seems okay. Undo the bladder and check similarly that there's no chafing, no obvious abrasions. Check the seams, nothing wrong there. Check on this side, we've got the reflective strips, they're all in place, they're not peeling off. You've got the manual inflation. This is what you would use to top up if you ever had to let off the cylinder and there wasn't enough air. You can top it up with this, or indeed if the cylinder didn't engage properly, didn't trigger, you could actually inflate it using this here. There should be a whistle in place as well. Check it works. It's tied on. Straps are good. Next is the actual trigger mechanism. There are different types, slightly different. The wee green clip here, that is what tells you whether or not it has been protected. It should be in place, and it shouldn't look like that with the legs having been broken off. That one's goosed, that was knacked because the wee pin has come off. This one, however, is in place. It's not going to come off. What that does is that keeps the trigger pin from interfering with the cylinder when you don't want it to. But if you're to pull this, that comes off very, very quickly, very easily, and sets off the cylinder. So I'm going to undo the cylinder, unscrew it, check visually there's no obvious corrosion, there's not a problem there. Check that the pin hasn't put a dent in there. Sometimes you get a small dent, which isn't a problem. There's nothing here of any consequence. The green retaining clip has held the trigger pin away from it, therefore it's not made any problems there. You will see that etched on the cylinder, oops, upside down, it tells you 33 grams, and the actual weight of the whole thing is 130 grams. You're going to weigh that and make sure it is not less than about, what it says in the checklist here, plus or 2 grams from the stamped weight. So with the weighing scales set to grams, check the weight of the cylinder, 140, That's good, that's sound. Obviously this is still perfectly functional. I'm going to put this back in place now, screw it up nice and tight. These again can have been known to come undone. Even some brand new life jackets out the packet have been found to have the cylinders not put properly in place. So even if you get a new life jacket, don't assume it works. Check that everything is in place and functional. So that's all the checks done. We should go back onto the checklist. We checked for soiling. There was none. There was no excess of abrasion. The reflective strips were there. I checked the buckle operation. The straps. Be careful with the straps, because particularly the club ones are known to get all tangled up inside here. And if you find that the strap is actually stuck or caught inside here, you can quite easily, he says, push that through. And check that there's no twisting here, because it sometimes happens when people are adjusting that this gets caught up. But this one all seems to be okay. So when you put it back into place, so I've checked the strap is free of tangles. Check the lung for abrasion or wear. I'm going to inflate it using a pump. I'll do that in a minute. I've checked for the cylinder corrosion or damage. I've checked for evidence of puncture of the firing pin needle. I've weighed the cylinder, it all conforms. I've checked the firing indicator, that's this wee green tab here, that's the firing indicator. It's in place. And the toggle is free and functional. I've refitted the cylinder. I haven't repacked the lead jacket because the next thing is to do an inflation test. The reason we don't blow into it is if you continuously blow into this, you'll fill up the lung with your own breath, and it's not good for the whole system to have all that moisture inside. So you're far better when you do the inflation test to use a pump like this. And it pumps up quite easily. Seal back on the manual inflator. That has to be left now for 12 hours, and if it deflates at all, it's goosed and you don't use it. If it deflates at all under normal atmospheric conditions, then imagine how quickly it would deflate if it was holding you up in the water for any length of time. What we're now going to do is leave this for 12 hours, come back tomorrow, we'll make sure this is not deflated, and then we'll repack it. Okay?